Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Highness the Deputy Prime Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan received separately the ambassadors of Thailand and Nepal. The Sultanate's gross domestic product increases by 12.9% during the first quarter of the year. And the new Muscat-Shinas-Khasab route connects the land and sea is to be launched next Thursday. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. Reviewing bilateral relations between the Sultanate and Thailand, top discussions at the meeting between His Highness Sayyid As'ad bin Tariq Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan, with His Excellency Gasida Kotuwitan, Ambassador of Thailand accredited to the Sultanate. During the meeting, they exchanged cordial talks and discussed issues with mutual concern. His Highness Sayyid As'ad bin Tariq Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan, met with Her Excellency Sharmila Baragoli, Ambassador of Nepal, accredited to the Sultanate. A number of topics that contribute in supporting relations between the two countries and issues of mutual concern were discussed during the meeting. According to the statistics issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information, the Sultanate's gross domestic product GDP recorded an increase of 12.9% during the first quarter of this year, reaching more than 6.4 billion Omani Riyals, compared to more than 5.7 billion Omani Riyals during the same period of 2016. The center stated that the GDP growth is attributed to the increase in the oil activities by 30.6% and non-oil activities by 5.3%. It as well added that the contribution of the oil activities to the Sultanate's GDP during the first quarter of 2017 reached more than 2 billion and 23 million Omani Riyals, whilst the contribution of the non-oil activities reached more than 4.6 billion Omani Riyals compared to 4.3 billion Omani Riyals during the same period of 2016. Muscat-Shinas-Khasab route is the first transport route that connects the land and the sea in the Sultanate. It will be launched on Thursday by Oman National Transport Company Muwasalat in cooperation with National Ferries Company. The departure will be from Muscat towards Shinas in the governorate of the North Batina via land. Then commuters will travel on a ferry from the wilaya of Shinas to Khasab in the governorate of Musandam. 4 weekly trips will be operated to serve citizens and residents there, develop the logistics sector and promote the tourism sector in the governorate of Musandam. Oil storage plant at Ras Markaz is a project on which Duqm Special Economic Zone relied to be a global center for storage of oil and its derivatives. It is part of the Sultanate's plans for economic diversification. Within this context, an agreement was signed for land usufruct right to establish an oil storage plant at Ras Markaz. Some 1,253 acres is the area allocated for the storage plant. Ras Markaz will be developed through 5 phases, including the establishment of storage tanks for oil and derivatives and the construction of floating platforms for oil export and import. The investment in the first phase is expected to reach $1,756 million. Enhancing the existing cooperation between the Sultanate and the United States topped the meeting between His Excellency Major General Sultan bin Mohammed al-Nu'mani, Minister of Royal Office, and His Excellency General Joseph L. Votel, Commander of the U.S. Central Command. During the meeting, the good historical relations between the two sides and ways of developing them were reviewed. Reviewing the bilateral relations between the Sultanate and the United States topped the discussion between His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Saud Al Busaidi, the Minister responsible for Defense Affairs, and His Excellency General Joseph L. Votel, Commander of the U.S. Central Command, and his delegation. During the meeting, a number of matters of common concern were discussed. Lieutenant General Ahmed bin Harith al-Nabhani, Chief of Staff of the Sultan's Armed Forces, also received in his office today His Excellency General Joseph L. Votel, Commander of the U.S. Central Command, currently visiting the Sultanate. The meeting discussed a number of military fields and matters of common concern. 33 topics were discussed by the Joint Technical Committee in its 11th meeting for this year regarding the mechanism of urban planning at the Ministry of Housing. The meeting focused on different subjects related to changing usages and heights, in addition to investment and economic projects. More than 198 million Omani Riyals is the value of real estate trading and the issuance of ownership deeds in the Sultanate during last July. That was revealed by the real estate trading report issued by the Ministry of Housing. According to the report, the collected fees reached more than 6,200,000 Omani Riyals. The report mentioned that the value of sales contracts reached more than 92,900,000 Riyals through 4,871 sale transactions in various governorates of the Sultanate, while the collected fees from the sales contracts reached 3.5 million Omani Riyals. It as well stated that the sales deals recorded the highest percentage in the governorate of North Batina, followed by the governorate of Muscat. Regarding ownership deeds, the report stated that the number of the issued ownership deeds reached 18,511 for Omani and Gulf citizens. The report added that 3,476 ownership deeds were issued in the governorate of Muscat, followed by the governorate of Dhofar with 835 ownership deeds, and then the governorate of Musandam with 277 ownership deeds. Still to come in our news bulletin. An apartment sharing system launched by the Norwegian Refugee Council in Jordan helps the owners of buildings, who in turn allow their refugees' families to stay for free.
حرارة الصيف وشمس حارقة تبعث فينا المسير، مهللة البشرى بمبسم الطفل وأصالة الإنسان، لتختلط بادية الرمال بالواحات الغناء نحو نسمات بحر وشلالات عين ماء، بين الجبل والسهل تزهر البسمات. يطيب لها الزائر وتستمتع بها العائلة. من رسوخ العادات قمم شامخة، يجتمع عبق اللبان وطيب الكرم. مهرجان صلالة السياحية 2017 من 30 من يونيو إلى 31 من أغسطس 2017. عمان، الرخاء والنماء.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. A well-equipped clinic has been set for the Omani Hajj mission and is provided with a sophisticated medical care to ensure that Omani pilgrims perform their rituals with health and wellness. It consists of various sections, mainly general clinic, observation room, electrocardiogram clinic, wound dressing room, and other necessary medical devices for emergency treatment, such as cardio, pulmonary resuscitation and sugar pressure measuring instruments, in addition to an integrated pharmacy. Academic plans and obstacles facing teaching and general guidelines before the start of the new academic year. Top discussions at the 8th Educational Forum for the Faculty, held under the theme Reality and Ambition. The 2 days forum includes a number of work papers such as Education Philosophy in the Sultanate, Educational Indices System, the Education Portal, and Emotional Smartness, as well as gatherings between supervisors and teachers. With the participation of experts and specialists in the field of leadership and management, the 7th Gulf Human Resources and Productivity Development Conference was organized under the theme Outstanding Job Performance for Excellent and Sustainable Productivity. The event targeted human resources cadres in various public and private sectors. Job performance assessment, tools, creative thought, self-empowerment, and successful leader features were topics discussed in the conference. Iraqi troops reached today the first urban areas of the Daesh-held northern town of Tel Afar in the third day of a multi-pronged operation, according to a military commander. Army and counter-terrorism units broke into the city from the eastern and southern sides, according to statements from the Iraqi Joint Operations Command. Iraqi officials expected the fighting to get heavier as they push into the town center, which is about 4.5 kilometers away. The US-backed operation was launched on Sunday, a month after Iraq declared victory over Daesh in Mosul, the country's second largest city. Tel Afar, about 150 kilometers east of the Syrian border, is in one of the last pockets of Daesh-held territory in Iraq. Afghan leader Ashraf Ghani today welcomed US President Donald Trump's new strategy for the war in Afghanistan, which would remove timelines for withdrawal of remaining foreign troops. Ghani said the new strategy would increase the capacity of the training mission for Afghan national security forces, including enhancing its fledgling air force and doubling the size of the Afghan special forces. Trump yesterday committed the United States to an open-ended conflict in the country, signaling he would dispatch more troops to America's longest war and vowing a fight to win. Firefighters on the Italian resort island of Ischia first freed a 7-month-old baby and then his 2 older brothers from the rubble today, working through the night and often by hand to rescue the children after a 4-magnitude quake toppled homes and other buildings on the island. The first was baby Pascal, and it took another 7 hours to free the middle brother, 8-year-old Matthias, and 2 more hours to free the eldest boy, 11-year-old Ciro, who was credited with helping save Matthias. At least 2 people were killed in the quake that struck last night, while another 39 were injured and some 2,600 were left homeless. The victims were an elderly woman who was in a church that crumbled in the quake and a second person who was located in the rubble but had not yet been extracted. Under a deal with the Norwegian Refugee Council, Jordanian landowners are giving grants to help them complete real estate projects or renovate their homes in exchange for giving free housing to Syrian refugees for a specified period. More details in the following report.
Muhammad and his family finally have a place to call home. After fleeing the conflict in Syria for Jordan, they were bounced around from refugee camps to unsanitary houses. Now they finally have running water and electricity, all thanks to a system of apartment sharing launched by the Norwegian Refugee Council. The NGO financed 25% of this apartment's construction. In return, owner Mustafa is housing the family free of charge.
Costs of construction are high in Jordan. If I don't rent my place out, I can't get the money back.
Reviewing applications takes time, but these apartment sharing offers are a precious alternative to people like Muhammad, who is considering moving back to a camp or to war-torn Syria. 25,000 Syrians and Jordanians have already been relocated.
Before, I kept worrying about finding work to pay for the rent and my family's expenses. Thanks to the help of the Norwegian Refugee Council, I can now save on the cost of rent.
Since the start of the Syrian conflict in 2011, refugees have poured into Jordan. The apartment sharing project also helps boost local economy, hit by the soaring cost of rent and high youth unemployment. This other Jordanian recipient is building his new house, which will soon accommodate families of refugees.
These landlords here, they bought materials maybe in the local hardware store there. They hire local labor, that many times this local labor are Syrians, they could be Jordanians, they could be Egyptians, they could be of many parties. So this project even is not only like for the landlord and for the Syrian family who will be hosted here, but also it's like for the small community which lives around this property, for example.
10,000 Syrians are now on the program's waiting list. The UN says it has recorded more than 680,000 Syrian refugees in Jordan, 80% of them living outside camps, waiting, like Muhammad, to rebuild their lives away from home.
Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and its nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with chances of scattered rainfall over the Hajar Mountains. Winds will be easterly to southeasterly, light to moderate, while seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Highness the Deputy Prime Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan receives separately the ambassadors of Thailand and Nepal. The Sultanate's gross domestic product increases by 12.9% during the first quarter of the year. And the new Muscat-Shinas-Khasab route connects the land and sea is to be launched next Thursday. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.